A pretty good imagination when you work with me. This is a mock-up that I've done in my workshop just to make it a bit easier, and hopefully you can see the principles. But the idea is you've got to assume that this is the edge of your lawn or your gravel pathway, and what you do is you dig out with a fairly narrow small spade like this a trench following either the straight border or the curved border with your trusty spade. And if you dig down about, I guess, 150 mil, 15 centimeters will be enough, about the width of the spade. And then if you dig out a little trench, then what we're going to do is we're going to put into that a mixture of sharp sand and cement, mixed at the ratio of 6 parts sharp sand, or 6 shovelfuls of sharp sand to 1 shovelful of cement. Mix that all together in a dry mix, then add a bit of water, but don't make it too wet and sloppy, just have it as a sort of dry mix. This actually hasn't got any cement into it yet, but if you have a sort of dryish mix, then it won't, when you put the block pavers into it, they won't keep sort of moving about too much. They'll stay reasonably put, and generally speaking I think that cement or concrete goes off probably harder with a little bit less rather than more moisture in it, and also there's quite a bit of moisture in the ground at this time of year, so that will help to put some moisture into the bottom of our little footing. So let's move the mixture of sharp sand and cement across. As I say, today I'm just going to use sharp sand for the purpose of this demonstration, and sometimes if you want to have a go at this with your older children, then you can always have a go with the sharp sand and the blocks, and it just gives them a bit of an idea of what goes on. It gives them a few more practical skills, and then you don't have the bother of having the cement, which potentially could irritate them a bit. But if you wear your gloves, keep it out your eyes, you should be okay. I'm going to move the sharp sand across. Put that into our put that into our little pseudo trench, and maybe a bit too much in there, but hopefully it'll give you the idea. Now we're just going to level that out slightly with the trowel. Not that it matters too much. We've got to leave room to get our block pavers in. Don't worry about bringing them right up to the edge of the lawn or the gravel at this stage, because you can always bring the lawn, add a bit of soil in, let the lawn grow across, or bring the gravel across once you've got your haunch in. But it's better to have a substantial haunch, i.e. the slopey mortar bits either side of the blocks, which you'll see in a minute. Basically, hopefully you can see the shape starting to form, and you're looking on this particular setup for about 10 centimeters between there and there, between there and the top. This one's a bit shallower than that, so I'm going to knock that in a bit more with my rubber hammer, or sometimes what I do is I just knock them down a bit with this, because then once you knock them back into position, once that, and hopefully there, when those tie up, you've got your fairly accurate 4-inch or 10 centimeter mark. A bit more difficult in this situation because I'm trying to knock against the sand and cement mix and also the shallow tray, but anyway, I think it gives you the principle. And we'll put the final one in here. Make sure you have the good face facing out towards your path or lawn. That would be my preference, but it's a free country, so just do it the way you prefer. But the beauty of using the block pavers is that if your garden is sort of uneven, or the lawn is, you can follow the slope of the lawn or the flower border, so it does make life reasonably flexible. There we go. Pushy, 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 bashy, 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 and then now, I don't know whether you'll be able to see that on the video, but that gives you your 10 centimetres between the top of this block and the sticky uppy bit of that one. The main thing is to keep the blocks as clean as possible when you're putting when you've got your sand and cement mix, because otherwise the sand and cement mix will mark the blocks and you don't want that. So now we're going to start to put the haunch in. I'm going to put the haunch in, which is the slopey bits on either side of the blocks, and then that'll keep them secure, particularly bearing in mind that you've got about 50 centimetres of mortar underneath them. So it'll be a pretty solid setup in the end. Normally I'd try and use my big trowel in there, and probably when I was out in the open it'd be easier, but what I'm going to do is use a smaller trowel like this. It's a nice little trowel like this one, and then I'm going to bring that up. Basically I don't want to get this mortar haunch any higher than where the level of my lawn or gravel path is going to be, because otherwise you'll see this this gap underneath. But anyway, hopefully we will lose that. Now hopefully you can see what I've done. So I've put this sand and cement mixture in at an angle, so that's what we would call a haunch. It's a bit of an angle, about 45 degrees, doesn't really matter too much, and then that, once it goes off, will hold the pavers perfectly well. We'll do exactly the same on the other side, and then basically you fill this area in with soil and then bring your grass will gradually grow across to it. Or if you're using it for the edge of a gravel pathway, then you just take your gravel up to here and it fills in all this haunch, so you don't really see any of it. So jobs are good, and the main thing is to use your spirit level. If you want to keep them level across the top and across the side, just to make sure that they stay upright. So check it with your spirit level. This is rather a big spirit level for this job. It's the only one I've got in the workshop at the moment. So that's all nice and level that way. And along the top, I don't know what it'll do, but it should be somewhere near level. It's not. So you would actually just adjust that until the level was correct. But when you're actually doing this into the ground, then you've got a bit more flexibility than sort of trying to push it into the base of a plastic container, which doesn't have a great deal of give in it. So now I'm going to finish off the haunch on the back. This is what we do. Just do it one-handed like this, and just put it in at about a 45-degree angle. All that together. And then that's it. That'll hold. Once that goes off hard, once you've got the sand and cement mixed together, it will be a very solid edge. You don't have to be too fussy about what it looks like, because this will be under the ground, hopefully covered under the soil of the flower bed or whatever. So hopefully now you can see both the sides of the mortar haunch going down like that at a 45-degree angle. You've got about 50 mil of the sand cement mix underneath the blocks, and that will all hold it together nice and tightly. It'll take a few days to go off, and the longer it's there, the stronger the mix will get and the stronger it will hold it. I gave up being an expert many years ago on anything, because there's always somebody who's cleverer than you, so it doesn't matter. So I just enjoy doing it. Hopefully you found this of some use, and the the main thing is to have a go. There's loads of people who criticise, but they never have a go, so have a go. See how you get on. I'm sure it'll be fine. And you don't have to rush it. You can always do it just gently, 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 steadily, 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 until you get it how you want it. And at the end of the day, it's you who's the important person, not the people who moan and groan about what you're doing. So this area here will then be filled in with soil if it's going to be a lawn, and then the lawn will gradually creep across and cover up to here, so to make it nice and tidy. Yeah, see, that's the roughly speaking the top of your lawn or your gravel. So all the little bits of the triangles of the block pavers are now hidden away under there. And by the way, for the avoidance of doubt, this system seems to work for me, so hopefully it'll work for you. There's another method of edging there. Just get them as tight together. Those aren't particularly tight together, but if you get them as tight together as you can and upright and level, then level to the level you're working with, then that's just another edging to have. The other thing to consider is if you're in whichever sticky uppy edging you're doing, whether you're doing this like this, or you're doing the dogtooth or pinking shear edging as I call it, then you can always add in against your lawn, if you wanted to, a flat layer of contrasting pavers set on the sand and cement mix and level with the lawn, and then you can use that as your mowing strip, so it saves you having to trim every time up against the block pavers when you're mowing. It gives you a little bit of a gap to put your wheel of your mower on, and makes the job a bit tidier. If you're going around a curve with the this edging here, this mowing strip edging, then you'll almost certainly need to cut the blocks in half, and then there'll be little gaps between them, but you can fill those in with your dry sand and cement mix, or just kiln dried sand, something like that.